honest, we would think at this time of week some teams are out of contention. On sheet A, Quebec, Northwest Territories, Yukon, BC playing for their lives against New Brunswick at 3-7. Our feature game is on sheet C, and Manitoba, after that thrilling win last night over Team Canada, lost this morning. Will play Newfoundland and Labrador and Stacey Devereaux. It's time to meet the teams now, brought to you by Tim Hortons. Celebrate 25 years of Roll Up the Rim to Win. Team Canada out of the St. Vital Curling Club in Winnipeg, Jennifer Jones with Dawn Askin, Jill Officer, and Caitlin Laws throwing the third stone. Nova Scotia from the Mayflower in Halifax, Heather Smith-Dacey taking over this team from Colleen Jones, and now leading it into at least a tiebreak with Terry Lake, Bliss Comstock, and Danielle Parsons. Team Canada will play the red. They won the draw to the button, so they will have the last rock in the first end of play. Nova Scotia is playing the yellow. Heather Smith-Dacey has gone out. She has the brush down, and we're all ready to go on this draw number 16 on a Thursday afternoon, and this is Terry Lake.
So the pressure will be on Terry Lake and Bliss Comstock for Nova Scotia, the front end, as they try and battle those shots. Dawn Askin and Jill Officer play time after time, and that's the guards and come-arounds.
No. Top form.
Vic, Russ, and I were talking about Jennifer Jones, and you only have to think of the other Jones, Colleen Jones, who won 5 titles in '99 and 2001 through 4 with the same team, by playing a predictable style, not trying to surprise anybody, the opposite style of hitting, keeping it open. And in that case, people would know her and go out on the ice and play along with her style instead of mixing it up. So it's just sort of surprising to me to see people go with what these teams want.
You're absolutely right. If you're going to win 4 championships, 5 championships, whatever it is, there has to be a secret, there has to be a theme, and obviously they're great shot makers, great crushers, they understand the strategy, but what works for Team Canada is that aggressive play early in the end. And if they do get into trouble, they've got Jill Officer to bail themselves out. So they're not afraid to gamble with the first 2, 3, 4 rocks. And it's been working year after year after year.
So the corner goes up. Heather Smith cannot peel it off. We'll come back to the middle. And it is trying to control the middle and not set up the good opportunities for Jennifer Jones to get in behind cover. That's the trick.
Does it surprise you that the first rock, no, the first rock went in? It's not a surprise that Jennifer has elected to play right away and not play an open first end.
That's why she's so predictable, Vic. Right in the first end every time, unless, of course, the ice doesn't give it to her, which at this level at the Scotties, it's not going to happen. The guard goes up. There's never a doubt. I could have marked it on the telestrator for us before they even threw it. You know what she's going to do. Jennifer Jones and her team are very good at it. Don't take anything away from the shot making that they have.
Full court. Need 4 foot. You got room.
I said that almost all the players are number 1 at their position. As a team, they're number 1, but Caitlin Laws is number 2 at the 3rd position. So just superb shot making right down the line.
And here's where it starts. The graphic we showed you before on our opening
Very nice, Dawn. Good.
telecast. This is the reason right there. Dawn Askin makes a living throwing those in there. And you have choices now. You can tap that back. You can freeze. We're suggesting create some room. Now, in this case, Nova Scotia might not create some room because they're trying to force that scoring area to be smaller. But if this was hammer for Nova Scotia, there'd be nothing wrong with making a move with some speed here. Kick the guard or tap that back.
So instead of moving things around, this is where you need to be pro side as the opposition. And you have to make sure that you set up the angles well, because Jennifer Jones is a master of understanding angles.
Yep. Go. Okay, good.
A little tap would have been nice to move it back enough to create a little better pocket, but still a great stone.
10. You got it. We'll make sure it's 10. Yeah.
This is the tricky part. Jennifer Jones does manipulate the rocks early in the end. So she has the corner, wants it to be used. So this is an actual hit and roll behind cover. She is not trying to run it into anything in the house.
No roll. Sit.
Like to hang around.
Sorry, Dill. Okay, Dill.
And will not.
Curl on the center line.
So, Linda, what fails? I mean, it's hard to point and pick when you've won 3 in a row. But when she does lose, what fails Jennifer Jones?
Well, when you play a complicated style of play, if you happen to have an off game, if something goes wrong, your mental skills aren't quite there, you're not ready to go, you will get into trouble because that is a lot of rocks in play. So if you close it down and the opposition out-curl you, then it's you that has the trouble. The thing is that not a lot of teams at the Scotties have the same comfort with rocks in play. So Jennifer tends, as Russ already said, to be able to get out of trouble when necessary and keep it complicated when she wants.
Here's a good example right here. Not quite getting the angle for Nova Scotia allows a pretty simple double for one of the best hitters in the game.
And that was supposed to be a guard, so there you go. That's the wrong side miss I was talking about. If you're going to bring it in, you have to be so careful with the angles. And if it's called out front to make the run back tougher, it has to be out front.
Great shot, Jill. Very nice. What?
Linda's mentioned it for years, but when to bail, how to bail, the smart way to bail. They managed to hang around there and open it up, so it forces Nova Scotia to hit. If Nova Scotia rolls open, Canada can still go back to the offense with that corner guard.
And that's why when they sprung the rocks, this is the perfect angle for Jennifer because Heather Smith-Dacey can't afford to roll the other way and try and spread rocks out because there could be a jam and, of course, there could be rocks that they could hit and roll behind. So this is a nice situation for Jennifer, the way the house has opened up for her in this case.
Remembering now that Team Canada does have the last rock playing the Redstones, and at the moment it's Nova Scotia sitting 2. Canada side coming off that emotional game last night against Manitoba and their former teammate Kathy Overton Clapham, which they lost. They were off this morning while Manitoba did play and lost their game to Prince Edward Island.
Nose? What? Nose? Yep, nose is good. Little roll in, it's fine too.
That's the interesting thing for today's game. Even though Team Canada's the one with the bullseye all the time, they lose 2 today, and they're on the outside looking in. And whereas Nova Scotia has the benefit of knowing they're into some type of playoff situation, and there's actually a little more pressure on Canada, and they're probably still a little bruised from last night's game.
We'll keep you updated on the different scenarios throughout the day. But, I mean, let's just, it's simple as this. If Canada would happen to lose this game, to fall to 4 losses, tonight's game against Alberta, one would go home. Loser would go home tonight if both Canada and Alberta are tied at 4 losses heading into the night.
Which tells you the depth of this field because they're 2 of the best teams that ever lived. The Alberta team, I thought would make the playoffs, no problem at all. And they have to win tonight.
No, you got room. Sorry, room. Lots of line.
T back 4.
Must be heavy.
Back 8.
Whoa, baby.
Ignoring shot stone.
No, back 12.
Trying to tuck in behind.
Must have grabbed some fresh stuff.
Just gotta stop.
Skiff.
Okay.
Probably nice there now. Yeah.
You watch Jennifer sweep her own rock there. If she's going to take the inside position in a neutral area where both teams can sweep, she has to give it some effort. She can't be in there just blocking, which she wasn't. She was obviously trying to sweep it back for her own benefit. But if you're going to be on the inside there, you have to make sure you're sweeping.
That's back as well. Yeah, it is. Just make sure, just try and not even them up.
Heather Smith-Dacey has had what I would call a fairly typical kind of week for someone who hasn't had the feel right from the start. Remembering she wasn't supposed to throw last this year. She wasn't the skip at the start of the season. and at the beginning of the week didn't seem to have the feel, but did the thing that you love to see, was determined to get wins, and even with lower numbers managed to get those wins. And then in the last 3 games has played much better.
Whoa, just checking. Room. Line's good.
Okay, right here.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
There. Okay.
Yeah, all you got to go. Go, 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 go.
Holy freeze, you never know, even if we're on the little high, it
How's
might
that?
go over there. What do you think for ice? Here? We got to be on the high side.
Yeah, somewhere around here.
Should be close there.
That rock's on the edge of the foreland, and they're taking edge of the button. They only have roughly 3 feet of ice. It's been almost 4 virtually the whole week. She has to keep it on the high side. It doesn't. We have no idea. We haven't watched all of the practice, but that doesn't look like enough ice.
4.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That looks very tight.
That ice looks close, I think.
Jennifer plays so much on this type of surface. Maybe she floats it out a little bit to keep it from curling early.
Clouds. Room. Go for it.
Jennifer Jones and her first here in the first. She does have the last rock.
We're bumping right now. It's good. Yeah, we're bumping. Oh, one. Whoa. Yep. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Yep. Whoa.
And she'll sit for shot stone.
Well, I talked about the ups and downs of a week for a player. Heather Smith-Dacey is a good example of that. A very rough start in her first 7 games, was 4-3. Look at the beginning, her percentages personally, not below, all below 70%. Then 2 good games, then below 70% for the next 2. However, the next 3 have been terrific and against very good opposition. She found the feel, was able to make some big, big shots, including the double earlier today to win the game. So a rough start. You have to say again, the fact that she wasn't planning to skip this season is a little bit to do with it.
Well, and the rest of the team, it's new for them too, and not a lot of experience with the other 3, and it's they're learning on the go here.
And there's the last 3 games against big opposition, must-win situations. Within the context of having to win, you have to say those are good numbers for Heather Smith-Dacey.
Final stone for the skip from the Mayflower Curling Club in Halifax.
Hard. Hard. Really hard.
Could end up on the nose here.
Whoa, it's not going in.
And it will. And so now, with the nose hit, the chance for 2. Just like that. You think if you're Nova Scotia, you had to be happy with the way that end was setting up. You thought you'd give them make them take 1, and now look at this. They're going to have a chance for the deuce.
There again, that's Jennifer Jones's way. She's not happy for getting just 1 and was willing with her box to take a little risk and play a freeze, a very difficult shot. We were both a bit surprised with the ice. She had to know it. She did and got the jam.
Yeah, I thought it might come up just a little bit, you know?
Yeah. Could have gone over and taken her
Once they knew they were going to jam that, it would have been nice to get the brooms up and let that curl a little more and stay slightly on top of that red one, make this shot a lot tougher.
Wait up. Whoa, 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 whoa. No, never off. Off, off, off.
And off they stay.
Right off.
Officer and Askin have done nothing now.
Guys.
She's given the chance. Going to hit it thin, roll away, and scores 1. So they trade mistakes with their last 2 stones in Canada. Misses the chance to get the deuce. Yes, our championship curling season continues. Here in Charlottetown, the Scotties, the final day of round-robin play. And in that opening end, mistakes by both Nova Scotia and then by Team Canada, missing the opportunity to score the deuce. Results in a single for Jennifer Jones, and now here in 2, it is Nova Scotia and Heather Smith-Dacey from the Mayflower in Halifax that has the hammer, playing the Yellow Stones.
And a nice break for Nova Scotia. We just finished saying one of the problems is leaving rocks in play. A mistake by Dawn Askin bringing that rock, the second one of the end, into the rings, allows Terry Lake to play a hit. If it had been out in front, she couldn't have peeled it off, couldn't have rolled into the rings.
9. Yep.
Even if you jam one here, you want to hang around and save that yellow rock.
Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. Okay. You good? Yeah, it's fine here.
One of the nice things for Jill and the rest of the team is the plan is so definite. It's very clear when you step on the ice as a teammate of Jennifer Jones what's going to be asked of you. I think for some of the teams that try to play along with Jennifer and it's not their style, the players are not really mentally prepared to look at a house that is so complicated. Even for Jill, the fact that that Yellowstone is so tight, that's a dangerous little stone against you. But the skipper wants a second one in, wants to apply the pressure, and that's what you do.
Jill Officer goes back edge of the 8-foot. Updating scores. Carrie Galusha from Yellowknife scores 1 early against Quebec. It's a must-win for BC. They blanked the first against New Brunswick. And Newfoundland steals 1 against Manitoba in the first.
Yep. Hard. 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 Roll it, Terry. Roll. Okay. It's good.
Good shot, and it was set up by the previous rock by hanging around. They had the double. They could have hit half rock, made the double, but would have rolled out. Now there's 2 yellow rocks in that scoring area.
That was a big mistake by Jill on her first to go that deep, so definitely she'll try and fix that weight, bring it to the top 8, top 4.
But here's to your point, isn't it? A lot of teams would panic here, hit those enemy rocks out front, which is probably not the wrong thing. But Jennifer Jones says, no, let's keep applying pressure till they miss.
Real hard. Whoa,
On the guard.
Whoa.
So, Vic, here's your point. How do you lose if you're Jennifer Jones? Well, sometimes the shots aren't made, and you left all the opposition rocks in the house, and they can score against you.
Just open this up. Just split this. Okay.
Liz Comstock to throw here. Playing the second stones for Nova Scotia here in the second.
Back 8. Back 4, back 8.
Nice situation here. If you ever made this perfect, you might be able to bury both of them.
Well, line's going to be fine. Weight's not bad. Line's good.
Some teams struggle with the ice and the weight. If they don't throw enough weight with this, they're going to be grouped and leave at least a double.
Whoa, yep. Split the earlier one. Yep. Go. Yep, hard. Hard, Danielle, go. That's a nice shot. Great shot, Lex.
The intention would be to split the one that is just the biter, but it does get something rolling away, more opened up.
Yep. Hey, Caitlin. No, score. Yeah, basically on the nose. 7/8.
Important shot here. If this was actually ever missed somehow, it would be hit for 4.
You could play the shot of the 2 yellows and double them out and sit there as well. There are options.
I like that better, Linda, too.
No!
Caitlin Laws trying to run it back and then jump it across if she can. Just like that. And look at where the stone ends up. Covered and sitting top 4.
That's good, Caitlin.
So the new teammate knows that she will have to execute some big shots. Very nice.
Or curl up a hair more. No, we hit it straighter. But we hit it thin. So it bounced like sideways. Oh, yeah. Maybe, I don't know.
Just a wonderful curler, Caitlin. She's, we've talked a little more about the 2 skippers in that Manitoba matchup last night, but a lot of pressure for this young player, and played so well in juniors. She played a couple of juniors my daughter was in, and a pleasure to watch, and great off the ice, too. She's a wonderful team player.
Hard. Whoa. Okay.
The run back works for the Rays stone. Will pop out into the open. center line, top of the 4.
Here. Okay, then.
Theme for Nova Scotia here is they're hanging around. They had a double and they didn't make it, but they stayed. They had this run back, didn't make it quite right, but they stayed. And then one little mistake from Team Canada, it's a chance for a big end.
Hard! Hard! Really hard! Yeah! Hard! Real hard! Whoa! Whoa! Yeah! Hard, Don! Right behind. Go, go,
Do they hold the line? Yes. Get the roll. They do two. Two wonderful shots by Caitlin Laws.
There we go, Caitlin. Good turn.
Just perfect.
Hit the roll in. Do you like that at all? Great shooting, Kale.
Okay. 10. Okay.
Still some room to work for Heather Smith-Dacey. We don't have that claustrophobic feeling of the 4-foot all closed down, so they're playing the hit and roll. There is room to draw in. There is room to split a rock and still, with skip stones, get something going.
Yes! Hard! Hard! Go hard! Really hard! Gotta go! Really hard, Bliss. Really hard. Hard, 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 hard. Okay. Okay. So she makes the double, we're okay.
Yeah. Do you want it higher then?
No, because I don't want to give her that hit roll. Yeah, like there, it's fine.
Okay.
So Jill was tight with hers.
Yeah.
I had here. This is John.
Remember what we said earlier
a little
about
bit
those
more,
teams
yeah.
still in contention. 4 losses is all that you can afford. So BC, with 2 games remaining, Kelly Scott, right now against New Brunswick, tonight against Saskatchewan, who have already clinched first. She must win both of them to give herself a chance at a tiebreaker. And after a blank in first, this is her final stone, the 2-time Canadian champion out of Kelowna.
You really want to be buried.
As she plays Andrea Kelly from the Gage in Oromocto. And yeah, shoot, she won't be able to hold a shooter, and she'll get just the single. 1-0 BC. Jennifer Jones.
I just finished saying that Heather Smith-Dacey left things pretty open, but playing that hit and roll that they just played, it was imperative that they not set another one up in the middle and leave it. If they were going to leave it, maybe bounce things. It's available, but they're drawing in behind it to sit 2 or 3 actually.
The line's perfect. They really got to go for speed.
Asking an officer, and they'll drag it, and yes, to sit 3 without last rock here in the second.
Sorry, over curled a bit, eh? A little light.
You still top it to.
Yeah, I just gotta make the roll. Look how much I would flash it.
Jennifer didn't want to half tuck that on the top 12 because a hit and roll is possible by Nova Scotia.
Lots of things to roll behind.
Yes, there is.
Just a 10. Okay.
But literally a 5-foot wall if they roll a couple of feet or farther. It's quite makeable to be buried here.
Yep.
And too thin, lose the shooter, and just push the stone out of the ring.
Yeah.
This is the one thing we talk about when we see a player wobble. When you wobble, you're trying to fix, and she never got back online. That's why we spend so much time away from competition training the deliveries to come out with the foot solid underneath us. There, it's not underneath her where it needs to be, so there's the wobble, and she's trying to get it back online. Doesn't succeed, and although the weight was quiet, it just could not curl enough.
Same weight, really. Just sweep for full 12. Yeah. Just to be third shot. Okay. And if we've got really good line, you can bring it. It might hook around there. Okay. Let's go. I think a little bit heavier out here, so I think I need a little bit more. Yeah.
We flash back here. There was an opportunity with a miss by Caitlin Laws to sit 4 for Nova Scotia. All of a sudden, they might not have a shot.
It's all you, line.
And this is strictly a case of execution. The opportunities were there to at least get a rock in a good position, whether it was 1, 2, 3, or 4, and they just couldn't make the shots. And now Jennifer can make it much tougher.
Whoa!
going to be a hair deep, I think. The line's perfect. You'd love to stop that rock right about there.
And deep it goes. Right to the back of the 8 foot. But it is 3. Nova Scotia and Heather Smith-Dacey will be facing with her last.
We can say just follow Jennifer down, but Jennifer managed to get by the guard by about an inch. They're going to have to go out wider here because ticking that top one is a steal of 3.
Is it heavier over here or is it right up?
She just threw a 14.
I know.
So that went way back though.
Yeah. So 90? 85, 90.
Good to see the front end on top of watching that last rock to give their skip the specific information. I hate when you ask when you hear, I think so. You've got to get the facts.
The front end look at each other.
So early pressure here for Nova Scotia and Heather Smith-Dacey out of Halifax. Drawing against 3. Needs a full 8. A little bite of the blue. A little piece of the 4 foot.
All you. All you, line's free.
All you, Terry Lake and Bliss Comstock.
Hard, you guys.
Danielle Parsons calling line, and here comes that stone, top edge of the 8. Got to get it by that one first. And they're by, and yes, good brush indeed to the 4 foot by Terry Lake, Bliss Comstock for a single. Well, when you're drawing against 3 early, you bet it's a key shot.
The goal for Jennifer Jones is to make the opponent see only a tiny piece of the button. Those rocks were deep, so Heather Smith has more room.
That's what we mentioned earlier in the day. You have to have room, or I don't care how good you're at drawing, you need some room. Full 8 foot's all that was required. Great shot.
And that's for the single point for Nova Scotia to tie it as we go to the 3rd. Here on this final day of round robin play. This is round 16. And Team Canada, playing the Redstones, has the last rock. Linda Russ, on this special day for you, Linda, I want to just take a moment. A couple of hellos to Barb and John Squarebriggs from right here in Charlottetown. They are celebrating their 55th anniversary. And from all of us, congratulations, your family and friends. And to a lady by the name of Myrtle Okapik in Winnipeg. Missed this yesterday, Myrtle. Sorry. She turned 91, and she's an avid viewer. Never misses a game. So to Myrtle, we say happy birthday.
Best wishes to all.
Throw here. Okay.
A little bit of deja vu. The same thing happened in the first end. The 3rd stone of the end comes right in, and that leaves the hit and roll for Dawn.
Whoa! 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 That's good. That's great. Good shot.
Very nice.
And most importantly, kept that rock in play so they cannot remove the other red one, and a chance for Canada to score 2.
That is the one thing about Jennifer Jones that is maybe a little different, and you and I have talked about skips a lot because it intrigues, I think, both of us. But the ability of someone like Jennifer Jones to see the entire end and see how the shot sequence will work for her. So it truly is, in her mind, a series of setups, freeing up the space she needs to then move into the scoring position.
And that's exactly what you said earlier. A lot of the other teams don't allow that to happen. When they have hammer, they close that scoring area down, and that last shot for 2 is nearly impossible. Here's that perfect situation. They're not worried about the yellow rock because they're so confident. They threw the red one up for a reason, the corner guard. This now draws the play away from the center, and there's a great chance Jennifer's last shot should be an easy one.
And it only took leads rocks for Jennifer Jones to get the scenario to favor her. She did get a couple of shots from the opposition different than they wanted. But with Jill, she can now duck in under cover.
Are we through?
I think it's going to be behind cover, but it might be behind the rings. Yeah.
Give you a windburn on the way by. And yeah, that's interesting. That's Jill going deep twice. This one right through. She threw one back 8 foot in the
Feels
last
like
10.
lightning to me today.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, but you know something, the confidence, though, Linda Russ, it comes from the fact that she's got players on her team that she totally believes in. And she knows their weaknesses, their strengths. She calls the game again
Got a little piece.
to those strengths, correct?
She does. But again, back to your point of when they lose, I think the only thing I could criticize Jennifer Jones about the strategy is when the ice isn't perfect or the players are struggling, she doesn't tend to pull back maybe as much as she could. She keeps pushing with that aggressive plan, even if maybe the ice in opposition and her own team aren't giving her what she wants.
Yeah, great point. You tend to go with what you win with. You're used to beating teams, creating mistakes by playing aggressively, so it's hard to shut that off. But you're right. If you're going to play aggressively, you're also putting more pressure, more degree of difficulty on your own team.
So trying to come around a stone just outside the rings.
All you got, go, 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 go. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Line is an issue on this one.
You done? Yeah.
Okay, you've got a player. Now you're Jennifer Jones. You become not only skip, you become manager. And coach in a sense. You've got a player in Jill Officer who we just heard say it feels like lightning to me. She throws the first one through. This one she may have pulled a string as she tries to find the weight. How do you manage that?
Well, this particular situation is difficult, Vic, because there's not really the choices that you might face where there could be a hit or a tap back other ends to offer Jill Officer if she doesn't have the draw weight. This end, it was pretty clear what you wanted to do. But the one thing about it, when a player says to me, I feel, in my opinion, the hack end support has to change. Players have to stop using the language maybe they were before and say to Jill, okay, tell me what it feels like. Let's talk feel. Let's find some words that make it so when you get in the hack, you know exactly how hard to kick.
Yeah, there's a lot of human error in there. Maybe Jill's sliding so superbly today, there's a little less drag on her back foot. There's all kinds of things that can happen.
Go, wait. We gotta go. Bullet, yeah! Fight the floor, yeah! Hard,
One more time trying to get around Askin and Officer. One more time trying to get around the stone. And one more time they'll rub and spill in top 12.
So just to extend the point further, Jill Officer said, it feels very fast to me. As another player on the team, you can't let that get in your head. Try to remember what it feels like for you, because there's Caitlin maybe getting that message and pulling the string.
That's funny, isn't it? They whip one through. Jill makes the comment. Caitlin comes up light twice.
Jerry just...
A little bit like golf, isn't it? It's like, don't hit it in the water.
You don't even have to say that to me, because it's going to happen anyways. Nice shot by Danielle.
Better. Yeah.
Caitlin Laws had a wonderful second, and Russ had a couple of beautiful shots.
It's fantastic technique. I just think she's got one of the best deliveries out here.
Okay.
That one just moved.
Okay, Kaylee.
Final day of round robin play, and for Nova Scotia, they're already guaranteed at least a tiebreaker. They could finish as high as second if they win this game, and then Ontario should lose their last game tonight to Quebec. So as high as second place. Right now we know first place belongs to Saskatchewan and Amber Holland. Heather Smith-Dacey.
10. Clean. Clean. Yep. Clean. Yep. 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 Hard. Very nice. We gotta come around. Yeah, I'm thinking we come around.
Okay. Which one?
You like this better?
I wouldn't say that.
Pretty even. Yeah. We could hit and roll, I guess. Just that I've... And if I come here, she just makes the straight back. I just think if I can come here. What do you like?
I don't mind draw. I'm seeing this path.
Well, I'm just thinking if I come with the out turn, if I'm heavy, we might rub there.
Oh, or that.
The things you do have to think about with this draw is what it's going to leave you. If you happen to draw in a place where they make the jam run back, you want to make sure you still have a shot on your last.
Really not much of a double.
Well, as for Jennifer Jones and Team Canada, they could finish as high as second if they win both their games today against Nova Scotia now and Alberta tonight. But if you lose both games, they would be eliminated from play. If they split the game, win one, lose one, they would go to at least or guarantee at least
actually,
a tiebreaker.
Make the run back a little bit tougher.
To your point, Linda, they go around this perfect edge of the button. Heather plays the run back, sticks it. You have very little real estate to draw to. You go around the corner, you're on the edge of the 4. Heather makes the run back, sticks it. You have the full 4 for the draw to.
Now, that was my point, and if you're going to do this, I don't think you want to take it in maybe as deep, or you go way back so that if the jam run back's made, it's not on the button.
And back they go, back 4 foot.
Wait, Jen.
Great sweeping, guys. There you go.
Great shot all the same, though. It forces Heather to a tough shot.
Nice throw.
Yeah, good call. It's curling more.
Yeah.
Might have, in hindsight, let it tick, take the speed out of it, roll it behind that corner, and then it's in front of the tee line, not where this one is.
Yeah, it should have been maybe top 4, or as I said, you take it way back so if they play a freeze, there's lots of room to do something in front of that. This is still a tough little shot. The 2 skips do not throw the same, so for Heather Smith-Dacey, she always has to make sure she puts the broom for her kind of throw.
That's hard to explain to people, isn't it, Linda? The different releases. Again, I have to go back to my golf. There's a lot of different swings, a lot of different angles. People hit high hooks, low draws, different fades. They could end up in the same spot, but they don't all arrive the same way.
Line will be fine. Line's good. Got a curl. Whoa.
This is the final stone for Nova Scotia here in the 3rd. Heather Smith-Dacey.
No bump. Line's good.
Looks perfect. No bump.
Sit.
All together now, sit, and it'll snuggle up beside.
I think you can tap it.
That was a brushing error. That should have been absolutely glued. Heather threw it perfectly. And you have to take a chance as a brusher. I'd rather they take a chance and take control of the rock, but they didn't need this kind of brushing. Clean in would have been good.
You'd rather have it a foot light at this point and be able to drag it. Obviously, a full 4 is all they really needed. Very small sweeping error, but maybe enough to give up a deuce.
Just throw more weight, it runs a little bit, so hopefully hers will run a bit.
Oh, there, the indication that the ice is very weight sensitive. Final rock. Get across the nose, tap it back, possibly score 2. Team Canada, Jennifer Jones here in the 3rd.
Off, Jill.
Weight's really good. Gotta move. Gotta curl. Weight's real good.
No.
Nothing yet from Askin. Her officer has to get through there first.
No.
And will she move it far enough?
Go.
No.
Okay.
So maybe that little bit of ice reading that we heard from Heather Smith-Dacey was right. A little more weight, ran a little straighter. Canada settles for 1 again. Everybody's taking advantage of the sunshine today here in Prince Edward Island. Just a reminder, from here in Charlottetown, we will head to London, Ontario. At Tim Hortons Briar, our coverage begins with Draw 1 on Saturday, March the 5th at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And a reminder, that evening at 7 p.m., prior to Draw 2, we'll have a half-hour preview of the field that includes wonderful names such as Martin, Simmons, Stoughton, and a Howard by the name of Glenn. As we welcome you back to Charlottetown. And again, interestingly enough, Team Canada probably will field it They should be better off here. They had a chance for 2 in the first, settled for 1. They had another chance for 2, maybe albeit a little bit more difficult here in the third, but they again just get the single. So Nova Scotia has the last rock here in 4, playing the Yellowstone.
You're right, Vic. In both cases, the deuces were on shots that were very makeable for Jennifer. In both cases, they did not come up enough to roll it in one. The tap back there didn't quite curl enough. Both a combination of weight and ice, I guess, eluding Jennifer today.
Not quite as much curl with these rocks as we'll see at the Briar next week. And that shot that Jennifer just tried, that makes it a little bit tougher. And Heather predicted it. You up the weight just enough, back 8, back 12, and it takes so long to finish it. It's still great ice, but a wee bit straighter than what we'll see next week.
And the feeling is the ice makers are really magicians in what they can do, but the feeling seems to be a 4-foot kind of curl limit when it comes to the women's game, and maybe a 5-foot curl limit when it comes to the men's game.
Exactly, and
you got a chance. Go.
You know, it's once you've played with the 5 feet, you get a little spoiled because you can make that type of shot a little bit easier.
So this is our example that we were talking about. We'll really be interested as this end progresses to see if Heather Smith-Dacey is able to get at shot rock by just playing the freeze.
So you know the next one is going to be where? Right on the corner, or hopefully on the corner?
For Jill, it could be a guard. Anything to try and complicate the path into that 4-foot, Vic.
We got a curl. Well, if you can, guys. Gotta move. Just over is what we want.
Okay, so she is playing the guard.
Gotta get to the center line. Higher the better.
Whoa!
No.
And to Linda's point, Vic, and that's the key to what we think could work for some of the Team Canada opponents. How does Heather score 2? Right now, if this was the last shot of the end, she'd be playing a 30-foot angle raise for 2. Makeable, mind you, but that scoring area is very, very small. So A, they have to open it up to get to that yellow one. B, they have to move the red one back.
No. Get over. Okay, Bliss.
Bliss Comstock, and she'll get the top stone.
With that frozen yellow rock by Nova Scotia, it could have been played with a little bit of weight, wreck on the guard, open up that scoring area, and you'd have an awfully good chance to score.
So you're almost saying, Linda, Russ, don't even bother coming around. You play the little chip. Just split off that center line. Don't even bother trying to freeze to it.
Depending on how well it's guarded, Vic, you can still play what is a tap, and if the tap overcurls, you rub. You just can't call a straight freeze if you want to open it up, and you certainly can't let anything go by on the wide side.
Really heavy.
Jill's got the heavies today, a little bit deep on everything. It still works, but there is a double here.
Maybe it's just that spot.
Maybe, yeah.
I think.
So better chance here to maybe make the double and clear up the front for Bliss Comstock.
Great shot, Bliss.
Oh, and she'll get everything moving.
So they got the mistake from Jill, bringing it tighter. That meant the double peel could rearrange the rocks in the house, and now it is open.
That's exactly what we're talking about. If Jill doesn't make that mistake, it could be a long end for Nova Scotia. Now they have a corner guard to use. The scoring area is wide open. Canada has to play a defensive shot, and a great opportunity to definitely score, and hopefully two for Nova Scotia.
Just a wonderful example of rock positioning and how important they are. And it is.
Whoa! Whoa! Okay. Okay. Like just coming around.
You gotta kind of spin this one out.
What's that?
It's a pretty easy double if you come around.
It's going to take some weight. I just want to keep your shooter, that's all. Even if you don't get rid of both of them. Firm. Firm.
Smart skipping again, Linda. To make the double, they have to hit it thin. Hitting it thin, they might roll out. So you have to make a decision here. And as Heather pointed out, it's much more important to hang around than make the double.
with Danielle Parsons throwing the third stone.
Whoa! 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 Whoa!
A lot of weight here.
And she'll make the double. Now will it sit? And come back? Not quite. Now there's that look. Just to see. Jennifer Jones.
Good throw.
Here, I guess.
Out.
Is it in or out?
That's out.
Okay.
It was funny because Heather said she wanted to make sure she saved the shooter, but she really looked at the line as though it was going for the roll big time, and that meant it had a chance of rolling out, and it did.
I think it's one of those situations that you call for a number and you get a little bit more than that, a little bit harder throw than Heather expected, and she didn't predict it running that little bit straighter.
A little deeper.
No, then off.
No, it's good. It's good. All you.
We're gonna over curl. Bite the 8. It's good. Full 8. Good. Full 8.
It is. It is.
Full 8, Dawn. Come on.
Easy.
Come on. Good, Caitlin.
Good.
And around the long corner guard. They have actually
Caitlin,
overcurled a
girl.
little bit, popping out the other side.
95.
That one is out, we believe. We're
Yeah.
so tentative now with our calls on the biters after the one that BC called was wrong.
That was earlier in the week. That may have been day one. Certainly last weekend where BC got caught thinking the stone was out. They put the 6-foot stick to it, and
Hard line.
they were forced to take a single.
Hard line. Gotta go. Hard, guys. Go. Hard. Really hard. Really hard. Yep, come on. Hard. Quick, hard.
Really hard. Get it over here. Squeeze it. Okay, good sweep. Whew.
All-important day for BC, needing to win both their games to stay at 4 losses. And playing New Brunswick and Andrea Kelly. This is Kelly Scott as we play in the fourth of a 1-1 tie. They blanked the first. BC with the last rock got a single in the second. New Brunswick replied with their own single in the third.
Hard. Go. That's good.
And this is a hit against 2, so it's a single for BC. 1 red it is, and a 2-1 lead.
It's going to curl quite a bit. I was a little tight.
Jennifer Jones.
Full 8. It's going to overcut. Make sure your T-line, though.
Line's good. T-line.
The one thing we can
Gonna
see
overcurl,
from these
guys. Make sure
draws,
you're
both the
biting
one
the
to the
8.
other
Right
side
on
and
the
this
T.
one, is how much curl there is to the wings. If you get a corner guard in a good spot, you
That's
can
good. Good
vary.
signal, guys.
Girl, nice spot.
Very nice weight
Pretty
to
good. It's
split
hard
the
to do that.
house.
What'd you say?
It's pretty good. It's hard to do that.
It's like, oh, no, yeah. Curl in there. It's straight in the middle.
Could have used a little more ice there. There is, if they want, a wide tap on that yellow one to the face and maybe even get shot rock buried. Be a very tough shot, and this late in the end, Nova Scotia has elected not to do that. But you have to be careful taking enough ice on those splits.
Okay.
There's also the angle freeze, the come around on those rocks on the left. But Heather Smith-Dacey is, of the 2 skips, the one that will try to set up a bit earlier and bail out on her shots, making sure it's a simple last rock.
10. Speed. Yep.
Whoa.
Yep.
Whoa.
Hard. Yes. Yep.
Whoa.
A little bit, Terry. A little bit. Good.
Nice throw.
The freeze opportunity didn't work with the Vice's rock, which is not going to allow Nova Scotia to score more than 1. But they did open it up, Vic, and get away from that congested look that Linda talked about earlier in the show, and should not be a problem to score at least 1.
Clean. Clean only.
I got jumped.
9.5. Clean.
Clean it.
Clean.
Final stone for Team Canada here in the fourth.
No, it's good.
And good it is, right on the nose.
Yeah. 10.
Nice
Good
way.
on you guys. I keep thinking everyone's throwing them more than they are.
I know.
For some reason I'm judging them.
Good, Jen. Nice shot.
Okay, same weight.
Good end.
For Heather Smith-Dacey, one of the things is the pattern so far. She might have pushed a little harder even on her own rocks if so far there'd have been a variety of deuces, but we're looking at a very low score, and so I think she feels she can bide her time.
Heather Smith-Dacey facing 2 with her last one.
Clean.
Clean.
Whoa, whoa.
Clean. Clean.
Clean.
Clean. Yep. 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 Great throw.
And nice throw indeed. Sit full in the 8-foot for a single point here in 4. We've traded singles through the first 4 ends. We're tied at 2. Well, these are the teams still with playoff possibilities. Now, we do know that Saskatchewan and Amber Holland from Chrono will finish first at 9-1. Ontario with 1 game to play. Nova Scotia playing their last game today. Should they lose, they would fall to 4 losses. That would guarantee them at least a tiebreaker. Team Canada has 2 games left. Alberta just has the 1. BC has 2. The key is the 4 losses. You cannot afford any more. That's why we say Alberta tonight has to win against Jennifer Jones. Doesn't matter. Jennifer Jones, if she loses this one, she'll be at 4 losses too, and so one of those will go home. And if you're BC with 2 games remaining, you're already at 4. You must win your 2 remaining games. It's that kind of day. It's our final day of round-robin play as we welcome you back to the Civic Center here in Charlottetown and the 30th anniversary of the Scotties. We're tied at 2, Team Canada and Nova Scotia. When we go to the 5th, and Team Canada has the last rock playing the red stone. You often see it. Doesn't matter whether it's an individual sport or team sports. Linda Russ, that when you get into the situations like this, when you are watching the standings, sometimes you tend to play not to win, but not to lose. And I think that's probably as bad a thing as you can do, actually, because you take yourself and your strategy and your style and you decide not to play it.
Yeah, sometimes we see a very cautious approach on the last day in that must-win situation. You have to give someone like Heather Smith-Dacey credit because she became in a must-win situation, it seemed, quite early this week.
Great sweeping, guys.
And I think she did change the strategy, but to the better. She was playing a bit too open and decided to get more of a balanced attack, and that has benefited her. But if you go all the way out of what you usually play on the last day of round-robin play, you're in trouble.
It's tough, too, isn't it? Like, yeah, not to pick on Nova Scotia. I'm from New Brunswick, and what works at the provincial level to become the provincial champion might not be enough, applying enough pressure to beat somebody like a Team Canada.
Really hard, guys. Hard to get by now. Hard. Rub it off.
This is a good example because first stone went out in front and a rock came into the rings that was open, and Nova Scotia rolled out. First mistake. Then there's a come around. There's a chance to close down the house for Team Canada, come short, second mistake. So it is the execution that has to go along with the plan, or you are in trouble.
What do you guys think?
I'm not thinking 5 out here.
What's that?
I'm not thinking it's a 5 out here.
I'd like to see Jill take a little bit more ownership. I hate to be critical, but she's kind of asking everybody in the first 3 rows of the building for some input, and sometimes you have to take it on yourself and believe it. And if you come up light, you understand. If you come up heavy, you understand it, and just don't throw to the number. Feel it.
We're light, eh? Yeah, we're short.
Really struggling with draw weight today.
Yeah, but I don't mean to argue with you. Sometimes that's tough. I mean, in the golf game, Tiger Woods lost yesterday in match play.
I don't think that's there anymore,
and he still hasn't got his swing. And
3/4.
He didn't have it yesterday.
wanna be
She
heavy.
hasn't got it today. The unfortunate thing, Russ, is that it's on a day which is key for Canada. And I'm not arguing here with you.
Nope.
So where is she supposed to get that help?
Well, you have to look
So
at
it's not
inside
there for
yourself.
sure?
It's all we
What's
talk
that?
about all the time, and
The
Linda will talk
3/4?
about the
Need to get it
confidence,
off, at
and
least leave
Canada
her
plays
yellow
with
on
confidence.
there.
The
Yeah, you
skipper
might be able to.
plays with the most confidence of any female
Maybe
curler
this
out
way?
there.
Yeah,
To
thin.
be successful,
Yeah,
the
you
whole
can
team
get
has
them
to
all
be
that
confident. The only
Feel.
way I was ever confident was to feel it and understand it, know the spots, know the paths, and you have to take that ownership yourself and
No, just
really
hit this
think
one.
until you can start
Pop
making some
this one
shots.
over. You don't like trying to get it, even just pick it off and leave our other yellow one there.
I can't hear you.
And from the hack, at least it looks like you can hit
I
3/4.
was asking if you look like you can still play the run.
I think you can. Like, you might not be able to stick it, but you can, like, maybe even keep it behind those.
Well, I think you're going to open it up, right, if you try it. So you could play
Yeah, well,
high
I mean,
side.
you're leaving our yellow in there, which is fine. That's okay if you leave that.
I don't think
control
you're
in the
leaving
front.
it there, though, are you?
I think so. If you hit 3/4 of this yellow one over here into it, like you can at least. Yeah.
You can try it. If not, you're going to open it
As
up.
close to the other yellow one as possible, right?
Playing the outside one, Linda, you could play the other yellow. Hit between the yellow and the red. The one they're aiming at now disappears, which opens up the rock. By missing this one, it's still virtually buried.
I'm really confused with the plan because don't forget, Team Canada has the hammer here. So those yellow rocks are not terrible for you right now. As I watch them just peel it off. And I was confused with exactly what Heather wanted to do. Either you do want to open it up completely by playing all three rocks,
This should be good.
or you do use your own
think I
to
can go
either
the same
come in
then?
behind or tap up or run back as they just did. Two very different philosophies, and they didn't seem fixed on what they want this end to be.
I think in between the red and the yellow, they all would have flown. You might even put a yellow one in the rings, but definitely would have opened up that scoring area. Now it's big trouble.
Careful. Lots of line.
If you can.
No line, not yet.
Whoa, let
There it goes, there it goes. Hard. 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 Go, 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 go. That's good.
There's a nice
Great
one by
shot.
Jill.
That's good.
To tuck it behind the center line guard and just bite the top four.
Oh, boy.
Nova Scotia this morning
Separation.
in their game against
Can I get the
Alberta.
two of them? Well, it's on.
Both
it's
teams
tight
were
to
fighting
this
the
one,
clock
that's
a
all.
little bit.
Okay, just get worried about that one for now. Okay.
And we've already noticed a little bit of discussion between the Nova Scotia, or among the Nova Scotia team.
And it does point out the fact that they don't seem clear on the progression they want. If you go into the end with an understanding in your head of what you want it to look like as the end goes along, and it's not too much time spent discussing the options.
Try to save this raise.
Okay.
Keep it in the rings.
It
It was a nice throw. Same shot.
A little spin back, maybe.
Could be an important rock. It looks like it could be in.
Jennifer trying to make it so that yellow can't be used to run onto shot rock. They'd like to
Line will get there.
get it top 12.
Really got to move, you guys. There it goes. There it goes.
You can hear Jennifer say, there it goes. That's the break point she's referring to, and they're trying to wait to that break point to carry it with the brushing.
Boy, they just papered it again, and again they drag it. Wonderful brushing.
Yeah.
In a 2.5 foot span, they virtually dead buried that rock. That's well done.
Just swoops too
And
hard there.
there's that
Swoops
stone
really
on
hard.
the edge, and it does look like it's in.
No. We had tons of line at the hog line.
It goes back to what we were saying earlier in the week, Russ. You know, as a brusher, and Linda mentioned waiting for the break point, you know it's going to curl. So you just keep hammering at it.
Yeah, and it's so hard because, oh, this looks good. 1, 2. Oh, rolls it open at least.
And does, spills it out into the 12-foot. Very nice. Danielle Parsons.
As a sweeper, you're caught sometimes because the thrower and the holder of the broom are usually going, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. But their job's to get it there. And they have to keep communicating also. And if it looks a little light, you have to sweep it and to believe, to Vic's point, that it is going to finish, because it will.
Line good, Chloe.
Caitlin Laws.
Hey, yeah.
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
T-line.
Walden.
No.
Caitlin wants to make sure she stays away from that yellow one.
Wait only, guys. Goodbye. Fully.
No.
Shot, Caitlin. Nice shot.
Well, they have found this path.
Sorry, a foot higher.
That's nice weight lift. That was good.
Nice shooting,
Yeah, we
Caitlin.
can get a roll into the 4 foot.
Caitlin's had a terrific game so far. Sure seems that way. She made a couple of wonderful draws earlier.
Spot's curling more than we've seen.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to see some.
She makes this.
Probably
I think
sink
we've got to
another.
freeze, yeah.
I was getting my workout the first couple of shots.
I know. Dawn was not heavy.
Because usually I just clean and dance.
I know.
BC in a must-win twice today are sitting 2. One top of the button, one full 4-foot tee line. Final rock on the way from Andrea Kelly of the Gage Golf and Curling Club in Oromucto, New Brunswick. Oh, now will it sit in time? She pushed it far enough. Very nice. For a single to tie, New Brunswick, BC at 2.
I think we have to go against it. It's right there. Yeah, we just got to leave that for
It's a very nice situation for Jennifer Jones. We talk about room to score. Well, there's a ton of room to score. It's an overlap situation out front. The rock in the house is top button, not deep, so they can't draw and freeze to it and be shot. So a chance to get another one.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think if we freeze with the out turn, she'll just try to come with the in. So. No, I'm out quite a bit wider.
Yeah. I think it'll be stickier.
Okay, if I'm heavy, back 12 is actually it's not awful.
Okay.
It's all line.
With the aggressive rocks and all this late finish, the teams that win week after week after week are the ones that apply the most pressure, and you can do that by making those come-arounds. Jill made a beauty. Then there were 2 more by Caitlin, and sooner or later the other team's going to miss.
Jennifer trying to cut off the out for Heather Smith-Dacey, which is to try and get a rock in the 4-foot and make that scoring area smaller. So this one is supposed to be high, and of course they want it buried, so there's no roll off.
Just a beauty here. Just got to sit down a little bit. It's dead buried.
And it sure is. As it wraps itself around to sit 2, top 4.
It's pretty good. I think she can only get 1. I'm afraid we might have put it in a spot where she could get 2, but I don't think so.
So we needed her hair deeper?
Yeah, I think so. That's all I got.
They would love to hit it here, but I don't think you
Kinda weak,
can,
do you
Linda. I
think?
don't think you can see enough
I
of
got to
it.
hit all I can see, basically.
Pretty much.
Does the in,
10?
the in off
I
that
throw
stone
heel.
just biting? Does that get
Okay.
you anything?
Yeah.
It's possible too, Vic, but you really have to throw it hard,
Got
and
a chance to get
with
both of them.
angle they are, one of that top one's going to
I
jam.
don't want to tick this in, though, that's all, right?
I don't think you're checking that in.
Let me see. Put the broom down.
If Jennifer's rock had come a little bit further, the fact that you can't see all of that yellow stone, this shot might not have been there.
You know how I
See if we can
mentioned
get rid of
don't
one
hit
of
the
them.
ball in the water? Heather just mentioned the key thing here. If they ever tick this yellow guard the long ways, they have to smear by this guard. They have to be as tight as they can. If they tick that top yellow guard, they could go yellow-red, raise the red one in, and it'd be a draw for 4.
The only option would be to try and freeze and try to hold them.
I thought you might do that with her first one.
Final stone for Nova Scotia. Heather Smith-Dacey here in 5.
Whoa, get up a little.
Come up, angle it back. Oh no, she just tickles it. And so it'll go to the button, and this will be a draw for 3 for Canada here in 5.
We had that.
Kind of like mine.
And you said you plant the thought. The other thought, of course, when you're throwing that is don't be narrow.
Exactly. Don't put it in the water. Yeah, it's too bad. They a couple great come arounds on. That's what Team Canada is so good
Yeah,
at.
I'll just throw the same. I got backing, so.
Line's
I
great.
gave it a bit at the end.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Line's good.
Line's good.
No
Just put it
backing.
in the paint anywhere in the house.
Line's great.
Line's good. Can't hurt it. Can't hurt it.
Can't get much better than this if you're Team Canada and Jennifer Jones. There's the open draw for 3.
That's the most curl.
After we had seen nothing but singles through the first 4. Canada explodes here as we go to the break. I guess you'd be firing snowballs at this time of year. We're in Prince Edward Island, birthplace of Confederation. For this year's Scotties, it's the final day of round-robin play. Team Canada, a win would guarantee them at least a tiebreaker. As we say, if they should lose this game, then they go into tonight's game against Alberta, both at 4 losses, and the loser would go home. 2 of the favorites. Here in this 6th, it's Nova Scotia that has the last rock, playing the Yellowstones.
The numbers for virtually all the players are very good. Jill Officer has struggled, and that will be reflected in her numbers. I just find that last end, and we mentioned it, Russ, for Nova Scotia, was a little bit back and forth, not really clear on what was being asked and what was trying to be accomplished, whether you were opening it up or trying to close down the scoring area. And sometimes when that happens, that lack of clarity transfers to the hack, and mistakes are made. Lots of time left, though. 5 ends to get some points here. You don't need them all at once.
Line's good. Bites it full 12. Full 12. I'd like it to curl a bit, Jill. It looks all there to me. Full 12 only. You're staggered.
She threw way less than that.
No.
Sorry, Jen. She threw way less on that.
Well, her for some tips. It would have been heavy.
Yeah, but even way less than what she's been throwing. Yeah.
Time to put on the thinking caps. Time for our Scotties trivia. And who is the only skip to curl a perfect game at the Scotties? And the fact that you didn't yell your name out means it wasn't you.
Next one.
You must have been 99, Linda.
Okay. I actually can't remember, to be honest with you. When you're in an event, you don't look at the stats.
How true.
Hard, really hard.
Stats are for losers. That's what I used to tell Wayne Madon, Pete Corner. Stats are for losers.
Well, it certainly can distract you as a
good.
player. It's great for scouting purposes and that sort of thing.
Canada ever, though, eh? It's amazing. A lot, especially at the junior level. I've watched a few teams self-destruct because they... What do you mean I was 73%? I made this shot and I made that. Who cares? Get us a W.
So there's the struggles that Jill has had so far with those draws. Remember, bringing a guard tight allowed Nova Scotia a double peel to get out of trouble. This is usually her bread and butter, a double peel.
Close. Very close.
Angle it back, get 1, and she will get 2. So Jill Officer, who at 73% is Those aren't the kind of numbers we expect to see from her. Struggled a little bit with her draw weight. Early makes the up weight double. Bliss Comstock.
This is the hard part about Team Canada. We talked about the fact that their plan is to close it down. However, when they do score and they get a good score and they get a lead, they do know how to defend that lead. It is not always go, go, go. When they feel and can sense that the other team is not setting up well, they can get out of trouble.
Good.
Trying to hold the line, catch it on the corner, and now look at this.
It's okay, Jill.
Spills a little too far, or she would have covered her own.
Well, the same sort of thing as we mentioned earlier when Heather Smith-Dacey had a wobble on a throw. Jill often has that wobble, and it's the timing of going to the up weight, changes the foot coming in underneath. It's not ready when she kicks, and thus the wobble, and a few times we've seen that on a miss.
Line's a bit tight. Line. Yeah, hard. Line. Hard line. Hard. Really hard line.
Keep this on the high side of the center line to keep it as straight as possible. Get it by the guard.
Really hard. You still got it, guys. You still got it.
Line's good. It's by.
Still got it. Go. Hurry. Yep. No roll. Okay.
And there's a little rub and the flip underneath. All the games now have reached the midway point in the sixth. Quebec, Northwest Territories are tied at 4. BC, New Brunswick. BC must win 2 games today, and they're tied at 2. And Newfoundland Labrador scored 3 in the 5th. Manitoba continues to lead there by 1. They're in the 6th. Caitlin Laws. Run it back.
Good. Oh, okay. Shot.
She'll get it off the 8-foot. Shooter will remain out in front, not quite covering the shot stone top of the button.
No more? Oh. Just back 8.
Still room to play a little tap. It'd be nice to leave the red one in behind the yellow, so any hit on it or run back on it would make it harder to remove.
How's the weight? Okay, line's good.
Yeah, lots of weight.
Okay, needs to curl.
Lots of weight.
Okay. Like Drew?
Back 12.
Yeah.
Back 12 through, yeah.
Okay.
Trying to curl. Got a piece of it.
Got a little rub, but maybe not. Yeah, a little one.
Just a little rub and actually pushes the stone underneath cover. And the shooter rolls to the back 8.
Right on the tee line. Okay.
What did she say? I don't like leaving that one back there.
Me neither.
Oh, yeah, it's kind of behind the tee,
It's
hey?
like, well, it's quarter on.
Yeah.
You can come up here. Part of me would like to go here.
Yeah. Or at
Even
least,
here.
yeah, sit 1, 2. We rip, she freezes. Do we just freeze?
Yeah, but then we're in it. Then I almost think we.
Go
Do you
in
like
there?
that?
I'm okay with it. I've got my weight.
Yeah, because if she freezes, I guess then we freeze. She's always got that draw.
Yeah.
Kind of like there.
Sure. If you like it, let's go for it then.
Boy, I tell you what, there was, to my mind, was a wonderful statement. I've got my weight. She knows it. And we saw earlier examples of it. Caitlin Laws, her draw game is on today.
It is. It's definitely something you offer up to your skip. But when you have a 3-point lead, I think most teams will go over and rip off that one at the back. Because this one is mostly buried, yes, of course they can freeze. But it's a pretty small area to make the freeze. This is pedal to the metal Jennifer all the way.
And that's what gets her a lot of wins, is applying that pressure. But you're right, Linda. You peel the guard if Nova Scotia doesn't freeze on properly. It's pretty easy to remove it. But if they do freeze properly, you almost have to hit the back one and give them 2. So they feel they'd rather make the move now.
We saw her numbers, 90%, 85% on her draws so far.
No, it's got a curl. Full 8. Full 8. Line's good. Full 8.
This looks perfect.
Got a curl, guys. At the end. Keep her coming. Keep her coming hard, Dawn.
Asking officer. They let off just a little bit.
Sorry, Caitlin.
And they'll get to the top 8 foot.
Right back to head to keep it going there. Another foot is all they needed to hide enough of that so there's no double, but the double's on.
Sorry, Kale.
No. Shoot. Curl of hair, rats. Foot more weight.
Yeah, less ice. It looked like it was going sideways and then it just didn't finish. Yeah.
Danielle Parsons.
Close.
Even though it's a double, you can't throw a lot of weight here, Linda, and you have to hang around.
Right off.
They're having trouble in this spot, too, whether it's tracking or Danielle is just a little outside. Her draw did not want to curl.
And she'll run it by the shot stone and will stay around T-line in the 12 foot.
Yep.
So who is the only skip to curl a perfect game at the Scotties? Colleen Jones.
I'm going to say Colleen just because she was here so many
Kelly
times.
Law.
And it is. Wow. Lois Fowler from Brandon in 2004.
There's been a lot of skips in the 90s. Kathy O last night, a great performance, and we saw her in that 90 range, but it's hard to get that perfect score. More obvious the leads can do it because their range for perfection is bigger. For a skip, it's tough.
Trivia is brought to you by Scotties, proud supporter of women's curling for 30 years.
It's hard.
Jennifer had the option to play the come around again, but that could be suicide. You leave it out in the open as Caitlin did. It could give up a double for 3. So discretion, the better part of valor here. Hanging around, sitting 2.
Stop curling. Remember that ran quite straight.
BC
actually. That ran
and
quite
Kelly
straight.
Scott, as we keep saying, must win both her games. And New Brunswick and Andrea Kelly not going to make it easy for her in a 2-2 tie, playing the 6th final stone for the 2-time Canadian champion out of Kelowna, and this is against 3.
Okay, that's fine. Nice
And
shot.
she will cut it down. It appears it's a steal of 1 for New Brunswick and a 3-2 lead.
Still right up? Yeah. 95? Yep. Okay. There you go. Pretty good. Low for line. Low line. Tons of room. Needs
Those
to
are
curl.
pretty
Let it break.
typical numbers
Lori.
for Heather, but when you're playing against Jennifer, who's at 88, there's a big plus on the Team Canada side at skip.
Okay, it's got a curl.
Just not moving on this side.
It's
Make
one
sure
of
your
those
shot-
where that's the 3rd in a row. It's late finish. It will come a little bit now, but yeah, really have to learn from the previous shots and realize that probably with brushing with a little less ice, even if it starts to make a move, you can hold the line.
Man, that took a while.
That's great. Back four.
Arena ice always straightens out as the game goes along, sometimes more than others, but they just can't get the broom in the right spot here at the 6th end.
Nice. Just play for the freeze.
Okay.
Even if we tap it a little and unlock it, it's fine. I don't know how she... It's all line. Even short's fine.
Okay.
She's got a pretty tough 2 right now. If we can move it, that would be great, but
Okay.
I need to get some late finish. All good here?
Yeah. Normal.
I think the perfect shot would be to tap it a foot, 2 feet, and sit at least 2, or even sit 1. But because of the previous 3 shots running a little straighter, Jennifer can't afford to throw any extra weight. That's the only way she can miss this shot. So
have to go for
we're just
2.
going to play the straight freeze. If they can sweep it at the end, fine.
Line good. Hard line. Hard. Oh, lead only. Yeah. Hard. Real hard. You gotta go. Really gotta go. Hard.
She took more tap ice, and this is
Whoa,
light draw
whoa.
weight, so that will over curl.
That's fine.
Good, Jen.
You see that so often. You don't expect to be light, but when you are, you haven't taken enough ice. You take another foot there, maybe a foot and a half more ice, make that same mistake, and Nova Scotia cannot get in there for two, Linda.
What was that split? 91? 90? Okay.
So what are we doing?
Drawing inside of the button for 2. Okay.
She does need button. The other one has a little bite.
Okay.
Would your wrist
Shot right now.
Yeah.
a little extra weight to tap the yellow onto the red, to move it, to give yourself a little bit more room?
No. Because also, Vic, it's tricky in this spot, but really is a skip. You want to try and take the real estate that's given to you, and that's the edge of the button. If you threw a little extra, you might roll off and not get the point.
Looking for 2, has one right now. Nova Scotia and Heather Smith-Dacey here in the 6th.
All you, line's perfect.
Lake is on the left. That's Terry Lake. Bliss Comstock on the right. There's a little bump. Move it, grab it. There it is. Nova Scotia continues to surprise Heather Smith-Dacey. And one of the big deals already today, Ottawa has sent Alex Kovalev to Pittsburgh, so he goes back to the Penguins, which would seem to indicate that Sidney Crosby, 8 weeks ago he received his concussion. Crosby isn't coming back very soon. We come back to the Civic Center here in Charlottetown after Nova Scotia gets 2 and 6. Team Canada still leads by 1. And it is the 3-time Canadian champions that have the last rock here in 7, playing the Red Stars.
Nice center guard by Terry Lake on her first, and the come around is deep. And it was the beginning of the game we talked about Don Askin and making great come arounds and angle freezes. That little bit of distance behind the tee line takes a little pressure off Terry Lake with this shot.
Half buried top of the 4-foot here. It'd be tough to remove with that slight mistake by Don Askin.
Oh, wow, that really died, hey?
Yeah.
The comment there, that one slowed down. It's to that point in the game, 7th end, the sliding patch starts to wear off.
Line's good. A little bit, yep. Okay, we're all there.
An angle freeze or a top 12, top 8 rock.
Whoa, right off. No, it's got a curl. It should work. No, it's not. It's not walking. I'm expecting it to go sideways. It's not. Anywhere high. Anywhere high. Anywhere high.
Tapping.
It can't tap. Nice weight, Don. Great shot.
Thought it would come off a little more.
Just a little nudge by Don Askin.
We'll have to keep an eye on things because last stand on those particular come arounds and taps, including one by Heather, they didn't curl as much right there.
You like
hear
it with
Jennifer
hack?
say maybe a little straighter. So we'll keep an eye on it. In the middle part of the game, you often do see changes.
Hack?
Tough shot
Just
here.
give
They're
you a half.
trying to get to the nose to make that double or at least pump both reds behind the tee line. It's quarter to half buried.
Yep.
Hard.
Hard
All the
line.
way, girls, hurry.
Really hard.
All the way.
Really hard line.
Danielle Parsons,
Really
Terry
hard.
Lake,
Still
really hard, girls, all the way.
Hard. Oh, you're on the front.
It tracks a little bit in the edge of the 8-foot and middle of the 8-foot, but she was throwing much tighter, and you have to expect it will move in that spot. So unfortunately,
like
you
that
spill
there.
them for corners and you open up your rock.
I like here.
Jill Officer and her strength.
Whoa! No, never,
Wanna
never,
clip
never,
that top
never.
red one.
Oh, no.
And they do, and they'll bump it up to sit shot stone. That is Nova Scotia, and the shooter spins out. Interesting, that early little bit of brushing.
I'm not sure if that did it, Vic. I think just that weight, we found some spots are straighter. Brushing, of course, would have helped it a bit, but that's a huge turnaround in this end. Looking great for Canada. Now a hit by Nova Scotia means they sit 2.
Whoa! How's the weight?
Sit 2 without the last rock here in the 7th.
Hard! Whoa, whoa. Yep. Danielle.
Okay.
I think Jill split the broom, but truth be known, I think threw it a wee bit harder than what was anticipated. It's the only sport in the world that the skip in this case, Jennifer Jones, has to predict what's coming down, not only line release, but also the speed. And I think there was a little bit more speed intended on Jill's there, and that fooled the sweeping call.
Line's good. It's a little tight.
Go for 9, guys.
A chance to rebuild, though. You have guards and the rocks in the rings belonging to the opposition. Nova Scotia are behind the tee line.
It's got to be heavy. No, heavy. Back 8. It's heavy.
Yeah.
This could be the field goal
Yeah,
there.
it's really heavy.
12 even.
Oh,
Wow.
boy. Oh, yeah, Dilly.
Wow, she just hasn't had the weight, huh?
A little extra, the old back 8-footism. Now what do you do, though? It's kind of a sneaky one.
Yeah, this is. No, that. No. Okay. No. No. No, here. Okay. Okay.
You hate to hit the back one. It's obviously a tough shot, and you're never going to steal by hitting the back one, but that back one could go on the scoreboard depending on what happens. Here you come in a little deep, set up a double, and that back one now comes back into play, but this is probably the smart call at this point in time.
They're trying to put a rock in the rings and guard one of the ones in the 4-foot. You could try and get a half and half tuck on the guard and leave 3 in scoring position and wait and see if Jennifer made a good play, made a nice freeze.
Sliding. Line 3.
Whoa.
Yeah, the danger with leaving it out this far open, it's definitely, as you can tell, sets up at least a double.
That rock in the rings, you're sort of hoping to get Jennifer lulled into some quiet things and maybe, again, clustering and being forced to a single. But Caitlin's going to fire away here and do some damage.
Worst part for Nova Scotia is this is a straight back double, so there's a great chance to save the shooter.
Caitlin Laws. Run it back.
Atta girl.
And she'll pick off one of the stones in the back 4-foot.
Jeez. Hey, make the double. Firm. 9. 8.5, 9.
Very nice.
Great shot. Nice. Very nice.
Finished at the end.
It's another one of those stories. Danielle playing so well, but playing against a third who's in the big numbers herself. But sticking with the good shot making.
Doubles the option here, but out of the corner of the eye, you've got those corner guards, and if you don't make the double properly, they could try to sweep it buried.
Hard. Really hard. Really hard. Go,
Caitlin Laws.
Atta girl.
Oh boy, she has just been brilliant so far.
Nice shooting, Caitlin. Oh no, that's okay. Great shooting.
For a while, there was a collection of rocks.
Wait,
Now there's only one in the house.
Lots of rocks moving around.
Yeah.
See if you can roll just to choke off that corner.
Okay. Rolling my way.
Yeah. Oh, she threw quite a bit more.
Yeah. I just thought, just in case it overcurled, and you clip the back when it was okay.
Yeah, totally. No, I liked the call.
Skip Stones here in the 7th. Heather Smith-Dacey.
Yep. Hard. Whoa. Yep. Yep. Hard. Quick. Hard. A little bit, Terry. Yep. 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 Okay. That's good.
A little down, maybe?
A little bit. I said 10.5.
Yeah. Yeah, good call.
A little down.
It was more. Yeah, I went up to 10.5.
I want to make sure he stayed.
You're done.
You're rolled on.
Yeah. Let's go.
Jennifer's going to try to hit 2/3
Even
here,
just leave her
roll
a piece
buried.
is
If she
okay.
hits it
I don't mind
thick,
blanking
she
the
might get a
send,
little
so.
lucky off that
What's
red
that,
one that's just outside the
It's
ring.
Dawn's roll, but I said I don't mind blanking the send, so just leave her.
There's
I don't
the
want to
point. She
overroll it.
could draw in, but this
help it.
keeps the blank alive.
Odd ends, you'd like to get to the evens. 2 hammers in 8 and 10 in theory.
Whoa. Whoa. Yeah. Yeah. Whoa. Yeah. Hard. Hard. Really hard. Yeah. Whoa. 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 Whoa.
And roll under.
Whoa.
Just pops out into the.
Okay.
Get through that hole to get to it. Is it in the hole?
You can, Vic, but back to what Linda just said. Jennifer wouldn't mind blanking, so you could play the come around here to the back 8 foot. If you can sink it, which we know it curls, you can force them to 1. So that might be simpler than playing this through this small, tiny hole.
Throw 9 at it. In case you do get a piece tricky.
Yeah.
I think the guard might be in the way.
I don't know. I got to go see it.
It's interesting, Linda. They haven't even talked about what Russ was suggesting.
No,
Styles of play, Linda.
Exactly. Heather Smith will always opt to try and get rid of an opposition rock
You can
rather
tick
than
off the
force
side
by
one, but
using the
that's all
draw.
you can do.
Guys like this? Play the come around too.
Yeah, or
Well, I mentioned it.
You tick
Wide or
it.
double.
What's that?
Kind of weight.
9.
Okay.
Heather's one of the better hitters here, absolutely for sure, always has been. But this is not an easy shot, and the worst part is if you miss it, it's an automatic 2.
And there's a lot of room to draw in behind those rocks and still force the situation.
Whoa. 9. Whoa. Whoa.
Final rock for Nova Scotia.
Whoa,
Queen.
close. Whoa, whoa,
Touch it,
whoa.
don't touch it.
Whoa.
Gonna finish a little bit. Don't hit that red one.
By the guard, get him both. She does, and then backs it up, and it'll just spill out into the open. It was almost brilliant if it would have stayed behind the corner.
That's true. It bends a little more, doesn't go off that outside red, but still, all in all, a fantastic curling shot. Kept the weight down and enough finish at the end to stay away from that red one.
A little closer next time.
That was a tough shot.
Better.
The only disappointing part of this is the fact that Team Canada had a very good looking end going, and the mistake by Jill Officer turned it around.
Yep. Yes, right to it. Yep. Hard. Hard to it. Hard. All you got. Good sleeping. Atta girl.
And out the side it goes. So Team Canada will blank this end.
Nice throw, Dan.
They continue to lead by 1. They'll take the hammer to the 8. Well, the other game of some importance on the ice is this one, and it's British Columbia playing 2 games today, coming in at 4 losses, needing to win both. And New Brunswick with the 3-2 lead. That's Andrea Kelly out of the Gage in Oromocto. And they play in the 7th, and again, New Brunswick and Kelly putting the pressure on Kelly Scott from Kelowna. And she needs to draw against that stone at the back edge of the 4, and she'll get there to tie it at 3. So as we take a look at the team still in contention, Saskatchewan we know is first and cooled out. Amber Holland has had a great week. Ontario and Nova Scotia with just the one game to play. Even if they should lose their games, Nova Scotia on the ice now, Ontario tonight, they would be at 4 losses. That would get you something. Team Canada has 2 games remaining. If Canada splits their 2 games, they would be given or guaranteed something. If you're Alberta or British Columbia, you cannot afford to lose. And so that's why BC in this game against New Brunswick, and then of course tonight against Saskatchewan, must win them both. As we welcome you back to Charlottetown, the Civic Center. It's the final day of round-robin play, and after the blank in 7, Team Canada still has the last rock playing the Red Stones.
It's always interesting to see the choices that people make, because I said right from the beginning, you know, Jennifer Jones is predictable, and if she has some chances, we'll put up guards. So a center guard goes up by Nova Scotia. A very nice come around by Dawn Askin. The shot by Nova Scotia is not on the top of it, and here's a little hit and roll.
Beauty. Nice shot.
So if you're Heather Smith-Dacey and you put that rock out front, you have to know that Terry Lake is going to make her first 2, and the second one was not made.
The slight good news here is that nice hit and roll area I don't think's open enough to get to the erasable rock to the actual center line. So a freeze in here is going to be tough to remove.
Okay, whoa. Only if you have to. Line's
Yep.
okay. Line's good. Yep.
Yep. Whoa.
Yeah, line. Whoa.
And they should know this spot. This is the one we saw coming 2 ends ago.
Come on, lock it on, guys. Go.
They played a
Yep.
lot of
Keep it
draws.
going. Line's good.
They're
Go,
made
go,
a beauty
go.
for 2 right here.
Go, go, go. Hard, 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 hard.
Keep
Come
it
on.
alive.
Keep it going.
Keeper,
Keep it
come
going.
on,
Keep it going.
hard.
Hard, 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 hard.
Those grind a little too, don't they? They seem like they don't have a lot of... Those rocks, they a little slow, do you think? Yeah. No.
They're questioning the rocks a little bit. It's usually in that path, but starts to slow down a little bit where the sweepers aren't quite as effective.
Yep. Clean, 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 clean. Sorry, clean. Good one, Jill.
And here's a shot that Jennifer does, probably
Nice shot.
sooner and better in that way as far as a bailout goes with Jill. And knowing that Jill is struggling with the weight, an opportunity to throw the up plate on that one.
May sound silly, but further to what Heather Smith-Dacey was saying, do rocks have their good and bad days, or is it the ice that affects the stuff?
Well, I always blamed it on the rocks, so yes. No, the rocks, I don't think there's very little change to them. They can fit. They're susceptible. The running edge is susceptible to pitting, and a piece of granite could pop out of one, and they can change, yes. But, you know, by and by they're the same, but it's the ice that changes, which can change the rocks. And for instance, if you've got what we call a cut or a rock that's maybe 10 feet slower, we've identified that in practice. You've identified that when the pebble is at its full potential. Once that pebble wears off, there's a little less friction, and you might not notice as big a difference with so-called slow rock. So you have to be always analyzing, always talking, always communicating.
Just looking at which way, I guess. Well, I'll turn again.
Jill expecting appeal, but Caitlin coming down to talk to Jennifer about what they want to do.
Try to rip it this way.
You can't do that?
Just a yeah, and I guess even if we dead stick it, it's okay.
They'll be open, and that'll be there.
It's pretty hard to get it to go this way. I think it's just going to come straight back, unless you hit it really thin.
Try and even just...
I'd like to just straight peel it.
Yeah.
We can go this way, but I don't want to get rid of all of our reds.
I don't do that. I like this way.
Okay.
And if we just straight peel,
Okay.
it's fine.
Peeling this way would obviously be dangerous because you could lose both of your own rocks. So what they'd like to do is come down here, get this as thin as they possibly can. If they hit it actually about a quarter, it could go back and take out the shot, or take out that red one, which is not helping them either.
Yeah!
Jill Officer.
Hard! Hard!
The brushing started almost as soon as she let it go. And that's a great shot.
Atta girl.
Beauty. What a weapon.
Well, especially when you have the lead and the last rock advantage in your hand, and you're at this stage of the game, the fact that Jill can clean it up that well, it's extremely important. It means you can almost hold the hammer to 10. Not many women's teams can say that.
Clean.
Removing your own rock at the back for Jill there, it was actually a bonus, believe it or not. In some ways you'd like to sit 2, but it's a rock that could be used for Nova Scotia for a freeze, and now Nova Scotia has 0 options to apply pressure.
So if you're Nova Scotia, Linda, obviously positioning of those stones all important, just not to give somebody like Jill Officer the chance.
Which is tough because she has such a weight ability. She can move a lot of granite.
Just clean, just clean, just clean. Clean it. It's fine, good.
Updating you on other scores, Quebec gets 2 and 7 to tie the team from Yellowknife. And Manitoba continues to lead by 1, 6-5. Kathy Overton Clapham from the Fort Rouge ahead of Stacey Devereaux.
Just clean. Yep, just clean. Yep, little roll your way, Liz. No, you're pretty much on there. Okay, very nice. Great throws, Danielle.
We see the blank and 7 in this end going along like it will be a blank. That means Heather Smith-Dacey has to start thinking about her approach for 9.
Yep.
And when do you actually consider it a steal situation? Do you try something in 9 or do you wait to 10? And that I'm referring to is the fact that you might have to try a couple of centerline guards and ignore opposition rocks in the house. Take a little higher risk approach.
Sorry, just had a 9 to 15.
Really? Wow.
Heather could try to freeze to that one. It would be tough, but the angle on there and get a little bit of a lucky break could force Team Canada to a single.
Sorry. Pick down this path, or do you think it's a little heavier still?
Yeah, you can throw 90, 95.
Maybe just a touch.
Yeah.
There goes Jennifer Jones down the ice. Trying to save a bit of time by being ready at the hack end. I'm not sure why Heather wouldn't try the freeze.
Yeah, exactly. It's a low percentage shot, but if you get it on the corner and Jennifer hits it in the exact wrong spot, you have a chance to force. Why not? The only other option here would be throw a center guard and see what happens. I assume Jennifer would peel it.
Let's take a look at the numbers of the 2 skips, Linda.
It's been a very well-curled game. Jennifer with the one big end so far has a little bit of an edge at 89%, but 100% on draws for Heather Smith-Dacey in a week where we've seen a lot of players struggle with the field. She really has brought her numbers up.
The player comparisons are brought to you by Ford, official automotive partner of the Canadian Curling Association.
Good. Nice throw. Just trying to figure it out.
Nice sweep on the last one, girls. Go 10. See if you can roll it back to the middle there.
Okay.
It's totally fine. Just 2 up at 9 in that situation.
Clean. Clean. can't remember. Yeah, that's fine.
So not even pushed to roll out on a hit. Jennifer can throw it through.
So we had a blank in 7, and we're heading to a blank here in 8. Team Canada leading by 1 and looking for that win that would guarantee them at least the tiebreaker here at this year's Scotties. It is that kind of day here. Bright sunshine. Temperatures are relatively mild for the time of year, but the weatherman does say there is lots of snow coming for this particular area and northern New Brunswick. Upwards of 15 to 20 centimeters of snow over the next couple of days as we complete this round-robin day, final round-robin day here at the Scotties. Playoffs, tiebreakers begin
just
tomorrow.
A bite before, not too deep. Even fully.
2 blanks in 7 and 8 means we go to the 9th, and once again, Team Canada with a 5-4 lead, and they have the last rock playing the Redstones.
And once again, Don Askins in that perfect spot, and this is what makes a championship team. You own that position. You're not the lead because you're the worst curler. You might be the lead because you can do that, and that's what a great shot.
I mentioned that Heather Smith-Dacey has to make a choice when she's going to apply the extra pressure. That means extra risk, so often you do wait till the last end to do it, and she is not putting up a second guard. It is a freeze that has been asked of Terry.
Okay, no bounce. Die.
Sit.
Set. Okay, good.
Fight, Gary!
So as we follow the teams that are in playoff contention right now, one of those is BC, and the 2-time Canadian champion, Kelly Scott from Kelowna, comes in with 4 losses, 2 games remaining. We know that 5 or more, you're out, so she must win her last 2. And New Brunswick's Andrea Kelly is trying to play spoiler and giving her a run. Look at that kind of shot making from the former Canadian junior champion to lead 4-3 after 8.
Clean, yeah! Whoa, whoa! Whoa, no bounce, no bounce.
Here's the exact situation we talked about in our opening, Linda. They could, especially with a 1-point lead and hammer, Canada could throw a little weight at that and jiggle them around a little bit and try to create a little bigger scoring error, or wreck on their center guard and open things up for later. And they've elected to play the freeze, which is what they're noted for. But there is a very small scoring area at this point in time.
I think this is what makes it so interesting to see the lineup and the personnel that Jennifer brings to the ice, because she has built a team with Dawn, who throws the great freezes and guards, and then she has Jill with the up weight. And that's why it's interesting to watch the shot selection. It looks safe right now for Heather Smith-Dacey to play the series of freezes.
Not get that rock to not overcurl. Okay.
But we'll see what Jennifer can do now with Jill. And this becomes Jennifer playing a little like we see Kevin Martin in the men's teams who can throw the up weight, because we see the big build-up, and then we see the rocks gradually go away.
You're good. That's why I swept it. You're good.
Continue to do this.
Good recovery.
And you're talking about the playoffs. This is a huge weapon to be able to set up at will, but also undo the shots at will.
It's something we really haven't seen in the women's game. It's starting to happen now. The Ontario team, just about all 4 of them can throw it really hard. But 4 or 5 years ago, it was almost unheard of to have the speed and the accuracy of a Jill Officer. And as you say, with a lead, it's a big weapon.
Yep. It's coming in anyway. Yep.
Okay. Yep. Yep. Straight freeze in the top one. Yep. Hard, 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 hard. Now it's moving hard. Okay. Horrible. That one just has a little better glide than one.
Speaking of speed, I think we're going to see one.
I think we just throw it hard. Try to get rid of the 7 and the 6.
Yeah.
We'll lose this 6 too.
That's fine.
But this one should stay.
Yeah.
This one will stay. But as long I'd like to keep our shooter.
Okay, like no. Nose should be fine.
Nose should be good. I'd like to hit it a little
Nose?
high. But
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
thinking like probably need a 7.5, don't you think?
Yeah, I think you need a good.
But firm. But tell her we want to keep the shooter.
Okay.
Now, don't let us down here, Jill, but we should see 3 fly here. Certainly the top yellow, the back 2 should go automatically, and hopefully, for Team Canada's sake, the thrown rock.
Yeah, so like just off nose.
Caden Laws has delivered the message. We want to keep the shooter, so just off nose.
Well, they want to keep the shooter.
No! Yeah! Hard! Hard! Watch over there, Caitlin. Go, Caitlin. Go,
One,
go,
two,
go, go, go. Get her,
three.
girl.
Look at
Great
that.
shot, Billy Bean. Atta girl.
And if you're wondering, they were talking about 7.5 seconds hog to hog. I timed that under 7. And we talk about normal hit weight is 9 seconds. That's a lot
Actually
faster.
felt like it was.
Big kick from the hack.
And for the case of Nova
Felt
Scotia,
like it was
not
pulling
fair.
out of my hand. Spot on the center line.
Danielle Parsons.
Another one of those things that's easy to say, hard to do, but similar to the kind of ability the men have. If you give up a big end early and allow teams like Jennifer Jones in this case to get into this mode of playing the big hits, it's really hard to come back. That's why for the first half of the game you have to stay close, and that 3 that's on the board in the 5th end, that looms very large in the way the rest of the game has gone. You can try and get back, and the 2 the next end for Nova Scotia was a great end, but now we see the ability of Canada holding the hammer and just able to cruise to the 10th.
Whoa! Whoa! Stay close! Yeah! Oh!
Good soft weight here again, waiting for it to curl. Pretty simple tap back. Can you roll in?
And he looks like she has very, very, very close to being in.
Jill missed a few draws heavy early, and that can't happen because of the ice changing. But other than that, Linda, the team effort's been incredible for Team Canada this afternoon.
Got the biter in, which is a very important potential point. And so now you look, just survey this house as it comes into view and think about what's happened, because the out for Heather Smith-Dacey is a center guard, for example, or a freeze situation in the 4-foot. Now they're trying to get the big roll.
Oh, look at this. Back of 1, and it'll sit for shot stone, back edge of the 8.
Very nice shot, trying to use an opposition rock as their guard.
Fantastic roll.
That's all they had. They lost all their rocks. They had to use something belonging to the opposition, and that's a lovely shot.
Come look, you can look. We got like 15 minutes. That's fine. It's quite,
I know it'll give them something to freeze.
these are the doubles you played in the,
What's that?
These are the doubles you played in 7, or whatever end that was.
Yeah, it's the same spot. That was my first.
That's fine, yeah, if you like it, I like it.
So where did you want to
I was
go
just going to play a
originally?
split to open that up, but I like it. You just have to make it go away. You don't need to stick it.
I like that. Even like hair
Firm?
hair high.
Hair high.
Yeah.
Just like an 8, though, right? Yeah.
Jennifer came up with a second option, being as aggressive as she is. They were
Even
thinking
if we
of
don't
splitting the
stick
center
our,
around.
when we're running back, it's still fine.
Sit 3 red as to 1 lone
That
yellow.
was my first. Yeah, so we threw this spot before.
Let's go.
Right at her.
Hope for some overcurl.
Yeah. Stagger those.
Heather's planning the mistake here.
Hoping for the mistake, for sure.
Slight overcurl. This runs straight back and would roll over and guard that yellow Nova Scotia rock.
She hasn't missed very much today, at 92% last time we checked.
Hard! Really? Whoa! 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 Shoot her, Dawn. Shoot her, shoot her, shoot her.
got this. This time she does. Look at that.
Atta girl. Great shot.
Atta girl, Caitlin. A great shot.
Just some great shot making by Caitlin the whole game.
Shooting. Thank you. Awesome shot. Good job. Thanks. Do that. Perfect.
She throws such a clean rock.
Nice.
Yeah, Russ, you mentioned her delivery.
trying
It's
to
so
make sure we
pure,
didn't
straight out the
stick it,
line,
like I
clean
got.
release. You can do so much with it, with the brushing.
And even if she misses the odd shot, it has to make it that much simpler to put the broom in the right spot for Jennifer's shots.
Nice call.
When you throw it that clean, it's easy to read.
Yeah, okay.
Really, all you can hope if you're Heather, if you're going to play a shot like this, you're trying to roll in behind, you're hoping for a mistake on Jennifer's first, so you have something on your last to cause her some trouble. You could draw right here as well.
Little light here. It's starting to really curl.
Heather Smith-Dacey, and her first will hit it very thin and will not hang around.
Jump? I think we got to come around that tight one, just because she'll come around it. Jump. Okay, right there. I don't want to be buried. Even right here. This is Dawn's ice, except I want to get a
Just tuck a piece.
Yeah. So Dawn is there to get to the middle.
Here it is.
Yeah, just
Even
might
if you
get
chunk the front, it's not horrible.
Yeah, actually, that's probably better. It's probably better, isn't it?
I like it. Because if she tucks around one of ours, we'll have a shorter run back.
Yeah, and we can just play in the straight stuff.
That's the worry rock here, that they're trying to decide how to defend it. Do you play the come around,
I think that's enough.
or do you move them
Even
around?
if I... Yeah, that should be close, eh?
Yeah. What kind of weight are you thinking? Just
I think back 12. I'd like to get some space.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe a little less? Do you like this? Are you splitting? Or do you like the come around better?
I'm okay with either, Jen.
I don't mind
The
the
rock's
split, I
already
guess. Like,
in.
'cause
The only
then we'll just
concern
sit
is that it can be used as a
Because they're
guard
going to
if
make
this
it good.
come
Still
around
have a
is
guard
not
to come behind. That's
perfect.
the only thing I'm worried about is if I just chunk it, then I leave a center guard.
They need to have a round at least, but
I'm going to have an intervention.
Yeah.
Stupid
Intervention.
time or whatever.
my gut was the draw.
Yeah, same with here.
'Cause
But then
even
I
if
would
you
then,
come
but
up
then
a-
Caitlin said even if we chunk it, it's fine. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Well, maybe we just play the split. But then if I ever over curl,
And then she draws around and...
yeah.
I like them both, but I think if you're going to go, I think you need to go to these very fat in the forefoot as opposed to leaving it to the side. I mean, I know what you're thinking is if she throws a camera, you get a weapon to use it, right?
Yeah.
I agree with that, but it's probably hard to throw that and not get a little bit of overlap between you guys. So either the split, or if you're going to throw a camera on.
I know. Which shot do you like better, though?
I like going to the lake.
My only fear is with the split is if I over curl and we chunk it, we leave her a center guard. I know it's over straight, but the worst thing we can do is give up a steal, right? Yeah. Okay. I was just thinking, you know, because we're not sure about the ice.
yeah. Like even if we're
It's
wide
so
open,
straight in the middle.
Well, New Brunswick is again putting lots of pressure on Kelly Scott, who must win both her games today to remain in contention. Second shot is the Red Rock T-line edge of the four. So BC and Scott, the two-time champion from Kelowna, does have a chance here to get a couple and take the lead.
Earlier on the highlight, we saw a chance for a deuce, and she rolled out.
No.
Oh boy, and she's going to roll a little too far again.
Yep, I think I got loads of ice.
So just a single for BC, and so New Brunswick will have the last rock, coming home in 10 and looking to possibly eliminate BC from contention.
Good here, Dawn? Yeah. 3/4 though, right?
Playing the come around.
This is one of those you can call the wrong shot or the less more favorable, but if you make it, it's the right shot, as opposed to calling the right one and missing it.
Yeah, climb.
Are we deep?
Whoa!
Whoa!
No.
Top four.
Yeah. Whoa, room.
Whoa!
Room, line's
Whoa! No!
Atta
No.
girl, great shot. Good.
And she wraps it around to sit top four and sit 2.
Fantastic rock positioning.
She has
And it may actually be 3. That stone Regard just off the center line there is biting.
All right.
So you have to try and decide how to defend this if you're going to try and make it more difficult to get another point, maybe angle freeze. I think at first she was talking about trying to wrap around it for shot.
Not a lot of room there. That would be nice if you get it to the back of the 4 and somehow be shot rock. You could probably hide half of it, but if you don't, you're shaking hands because it's wide open to hit for a possible 3 or 4. This probably is the only option, to angle freeze and hope that Team Canada can't draw the 4-foot for 2.
All there. Where? All there.
Okay. Deep. Go around.
Need a piece.
They're considering plan B here. It could be heavy.
It's going around.
Yep.
Can't. Back.
Yep.
A lot of weight, though. They can't sweep it too much.
So Daniel Parsons is calling them on now,
Hard.
and they may have waited just a little too long.
Yeah, that communication was not very good.
we had to make a decision
quiet.
early on that.
Yeah, they
Could've
were
gone to the back
saying
4.
something that it wasn't right, but neither one of them was really hearing, and then the decision was way too late.
You can't be hoping. If it's wide, it's wide. If it's heavy, it's heavy. Somebody has to make that decision. If you're wrong, you're wrong. But in that case, there's no chance that was ever going to stop top 4.
So it's a hit for 4.
Deader.
Keep it
You believe the one at the top of the 12 is in, do you?
I do.
Okay.
That was the worst possible thing.
Clean. Yep.
Final stone, Jennifer Jones, Team Canada.
Clean. You can clean.
They got 3
Atta girl.
in the 5th, and they will get 3 and maybe 4 here in 9, and it's over. And Team Canada will guarantee themselves at least a tiebreaker with the win as they improve their record now to 7-3, and Nova Scotia will fall and wind up round robin at 7-4, and so they too are into a tiebreak.
Stop. You played awesome.
As 4 goes on the board, and it is a 9-4 win. So Saskatchewan, we know, is first. Team Canada and Ontario at the moment are in 3 losses with both 1 game to play. And tonight is also a spot in that number 2 position between Ontario and Canada. Nova Scotia is done. Alberta sits at 4 losses. BC tied right now. If BC loses, they're done. If Alberta should lose tonight to Team Canada, they're done.